What's up, boys and girls? It is not Mr. Dunkelberger, because I couldn't find a weirder name than mine, except I did, Dunkelberger, from Mechanicsville Elementary School. This is not that guy. This is Mr. Avery. And this morning we're going to be talking a little bit more about lines, and we're going to be talking about parallel, perpendicular lines, intersecting lines, and then reviewing everything that we did the last 2 days in class. So I'm going to go ahead and just get to it. So we already gone through all this kind of stuff here, guys. We know that a line is a straight path on a plane. It goes on forever and ever. We got all this stuff in your notes about how to write that down. We know that a point is an exact location in space on a plane. Okay, doesn't take up any space. It's just an exact location. All right. We know a line segment is part of a line with two endpoints. A ray is a point, and then it goes on forever in one direction. Okay. Now, this is where we're getting to it. So, parallel lines. These are lines on a plane that never intersect with each other. So when you see two lines next to each other, and they go on and on and on and on forever, and they will never intersect, those are parallel lines. Think about railroad tracks. Okay. Railroad tracks, the rails will never intersect each other. And I know they curve and stuff like that, but just think about the straight portion. Okay, they never intersect each other. They always are an equal distance apart. And you see this in shapes a lot. And what we're going to do next after we do all this stuff is talk about two-dimensional shapes and how to classify shapes. And being able to identify parallel lines is very important because that is how we can classify some of our shapes. So parallel lines will never intersect. You do need to write this down in your notebook. And I would also maybe kind of draw two lines. Use the lines on your notebook paper because the lines on notebook paper are parallel to each other. And just trace over that line and copy this. Okay? You don't necessarily need to write that just yet. I'm not really worried about that. But I do want you to just put an example of that. So if you would pause our video and copy that down real quick, and then I'll be right back. Okay. All right, so hopefully you got that down. If you didn't, pause it, rewind if you need to, whatever you got to do. All right. Perpendicular lines are different. They are two lines that intersect and form they form right angles. Okay. Well, you say, well, what's a right angle? A right angle is when in this corner here you have a 90-degree angle. Okay. And that's straight up and straight across. Okay, it's usually characterized with that little box right there. That's how you know that it's a 90-degree angle without it saying 90 degrees. So if it's not labeled and it's got this little box on it, okay, right in where the angle is and the vertex here, that means that it's a 90-degree angle, and that tells you that it is a perpendicular set of lines. Okay, you cannot have a single perpendicular line or a single parallel lines. They have to come in two or more. Okay. All right. So I want you to go ahead and write this down. And again, I want you to write this as best you can. Okay. You don't necessarily have to write that, but I do want you to kind of draw that out the best that you can, and just make sure that you put the little boxes in the angles. Okay. So there's like 4 separate angles in there. 4 separate 90-degree angles. Okay. All right. And just like a interesting fact that you'll get to know at some point later on, a circle is 360 degrees. So that means that all the way around this shape in one circle should equal 360. Well, if this one's 90, this one's 90, and I'm talking about this angle. It's 90 degrees. We put a little symbol there for degrees. 90 degrees and 90 degrees. Well, what is 4 times 90? That's a big degree sign. Hold on. 4 times 90 is 360. Okay, 360 degrees. All right, so just kind of give you a little heads up on that, you know, the 4 90-degree angles have to equal a whole circle. So that means that if you go all the way around, it equals 360. Okay, that's just kind of a fun little fact. So make sure you get all that written down, pause it, and then go ahead and play and move on. All right, next, some angles. So we talked about a ray, we talked about a point, talked about line segments, angles, lines. Now, excuse me, a right angle is an angle that has a straight up and down line and a straight line horizontally to make the 90-degree angle. So you could technically have that box in there like that. It should have that to show you that it's a 90-degree angle. So that's a right angle. And then we have the obtuse angle, which is funny that that mark stayed there because this shows that it is greater than 90 degrees. So when it opens up, that means that it's going to be greater than 90 degrees. We call that obtuse. And when it's less than 90 degrees, it's going to be acute. Now we'll take a little bit more detailed notes on that maybe later on. Not quite ready to do all that necessarily, but when it's closed like that, it's acute. And I usually tell people, like, how can I remember that it's acute? Well, it's little, so it's a cute angle. It's a little bitty acute angle. Okay? Get silly like puppy baby talk on it, right? All right, very good. Parallel lines, intersecting lines, which we talked about one of the previous days, and then the perpendicular lines, which are lines that cross and have 90 right angles all throughout. Okay, you could actually put like a perfect square. That is not a perfect square, but you could put a perfect square in there. Okay, perpendicular lines. All right, so really quickly, I'm going to go through a couple of these with you. Just want you to look at them and just in your head, I just want you to think, like, what am I showing you? All right, so what type of lines are these? Are these parallel, perpendicular, or intersecting? These are parallel because they are straight up, straight up. They're never going to intersect each other. What about these? You might be tempted to say perpendicular, but you can see there's a bit of an angle here. This is a little bit more of an obtuse, and this looks a little more of an acute angle. So these are intersecting lines. Okay, so you see this on an assessment or somewhere else. Like, it's going to be a little more obvious than what you see in there, so it's not a big deal. That looks like the exact same picture to me. So I don't know if they meant for that to be intersecting or perpendicular, but it looks intersecting to me because that looks like it's obtuse and that looks acute. Now, here we go. What do you think this is? Parallel, perpendicular, or intersecting? Now, because we have this right angle symbol, that means that that's a right angle, that's a right angle, that's a right angle, and that's a right angle. If you have a right angle, the rest of them have to be right angles. Okay? So that means that this is perpendicular. Intersecting. Perpendicular. Intersecting. I'm going to say intersecting because it doesn't have the 90-degree angle symbol. And is this a line, line segment, or a ray, or a point? Line segment. I know it's blurry, but that is a ray. That is a line. Have our arrows on the outside. That is a ray. And that is a very blurry, pixelated point. And line segment. Oh, one more. And a ray. All right, very good. So here's what I'm going to do. I just want you guys to make sure you get the notes from earlier in the video. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to have you guys do something different today, something called a flip grid. If you're in my homeroom, you've done these, and you might have done this in your homeroom, and if you have, that's awesome. But there's going to be a link within the assignment, and I want you guys to just watch my video, and I will tell you what the assignment is, and then you respond with a video of your own by using your webcam. All right, so get to it, and have a great one.